Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. Little West Bromwich Albion 0, Aston Villa 3. This is the Purity post-match point. I'm joined by two podcasters in their own right. I'm joined by Omar from the Villa Talks podcast and Neil from the For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And chaps, last thing you want to do is be coming on at 9:20 and talking about Aston Villa struggling against West Brom, but we got the job done quite comfortably in the end, so we don't have to do that. Omar, come to you first. How did you find it?
Yeah, I mean, well, as comfortable as you can get, really. I thought we were pretty dominant from the first minute on. In fact, probably them going down to 10 men probably made it a bit harder for us to break them down, because obviously, well, especially the second half, they tried to sit back a little bit and tried to defend with sort of two banks of four. But I mean, you got a little bit worried second half, definitely, especially when the Watkins goal was chalked off offside. A ridiculous decision. I know it's probably technically offside, but I didn't even know if they're drawing the lines properly anymore, to be honest. I can't tell. I don't get it anymore. But after that goal didn't go in, then they got a bit of I say they got a bit of urgency back in their game, West Brom, but they didn't really do anything. And then, we were just professional. I don't think I think Villa fans were more worried about, from then on in terms of them coming back into the game than the actual team were. I think they were always pretty confident that they'll get the second and then obviously got the third as well. So delighted, mate. Absolutely delighted. I mean, after disappointment of not winning against Burnley and everyone talking about end product, well, it was there to see. And I'm really, really happy for Anwar Ghazi and Traore as well, because, they worked so hard. They worked so hard against Burnley. And I thought, we played really well in terms of performances. You can't really fault them. For them to have been dropped this game would have been harsh, I think. So I was glad they started. And I'm just really, really happy for them that they managed to get a goal. And Anwar Ghazi absolutely loves scoring against the Baggies, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was about to say, Neil, that the Hawthorn seems to be Anwar El Ghazi's playground, and he's done it again. Another couple of goals. I think he got 2 goals last time, didn't he? So that's every time we visit the Hawthorns, mate, he gets 2 goals.
Yeah, look, he's look. I say I've been hot and cold on Anwar Ghazi, not to the level that some people on Twitter have been with regards to his performances, but the man just, like, he did something today in the first 2 or 3 minutes, and this is kind of encapsulated Anwar Ghazi. Once his confidence is up, he's exactly the player we want him to be, and once his confidence is down, he's not. And look, we've all suffered from that when we've played sport before. It's nothing new. And sometimes we expect professional footballers to be superheroes in that aspect from a mentality point of view. Got that early goal. He was brave enough to go in against Johnston that way and got that goal. And he flourished from there. And I thought he was very, very comfortable on the ball. He took 8 shots again today. That seems to be his number. That seems to be his lucky number. But took 8 shots again today. And, look, he took a beautiful penalty at the end of the game there as well. And that's what I mean. The confidence to put the ball in the back of the net at the start. And then at the end, he was just sweating confidence and testosterone at that stage. He was never going to miss that ball. So that penalty, so fair play to him. And on the Traore piece, Traore was my man of the match. I thought he was fantastic. Yeah, I thought he was really good. Look, he is what he is. He's really left-footed. That's not really a negative. But his goal was, if I scored that goal in a 5-a-side, I would never shut up about scoring that goal. It was ridiculous. It was sensual, is what I would call it, the way he just passed it in the back of the net. What a goal. What a goal.
I think Johnston's still sitting down, isn't he, after that goal? I don't think he got up after that.
Mate, you got to feel a bit sorry for Sam Johnson, to be fair, because I thought he had a decent game. He just a busy night for him. But I mean, did West Brom have a shot, Omar? I genuinely can't remember if they had a shot or not. I can't picture one in my mind.
They had the free kick, which was comfortably saved. Yeah. Martinez. I looked at the XG rating actually. If you're into that, not that I'm massively a big fan,
don't mind a bit.
Bit of mine, but yeah, 0.02 XG West Brom had.
That's got to be one of the lowest in history. That's
terrible. Yeah, I mean, I even think even if they didn't lose a man, I think we were so dominant those first however many minutes before Liverpool got sent off. It was just only going one way for me from the beginning. It was just all about whether it would be like Burnley game, I suppose. In that, if we scored that goal early on, then I was pretty comfortable. But it was all about us. And it was all on us, whether we were going to win that game or not. It was all to do with us, whether we make a mistake at the back or we finish our chances. It was all to do with us. And the fact that they had like a man sent off, like I said, it made things a little bit harder for us because they defended a bit deeper. But I think the players were always pretty confident that we're going to get a second. So West Brom were hardly in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, I think Omar makes a good point. I think if we score early against Burnley on Thursday, that game probably goes a similar way to tonight. We just didn't get that early goal on Thursday, and tonight we did, and we're just very, very comfortable, weren't we?
100%, absolutely agree. It not only set, I suppose, the West Brom's, it almost sunk West Brom players' hearts. You could see it. They were coming into this devoid of creativity with Matthias Pereira out with a red card. Yes, they had Keelan Grant up front on his own, but Matt Phillips is there on one side, and Dean Ganna was on the other side, and they were so like the three players were miles away from each other because the two, Phillips and Dean Ganna, literally hugged the touchlines, and Keelan Grant was stood up alongside. Say what you like about Courtney House as well. Courtney House, I'm the treasurer, the secretary, the chairman. I'm collecting all the tickets, and I'm, of the Courtney House fan club. I really am. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but he's as solid as you're going to get for a third centre half. But to answer your question on that, yes, it's our early goals sunk their battleship really early because they wanted to come and be dogged and catch us on the break. With our goal, our tails were up. All we had to do was pass the ball around and wait to wear them down. Now, I thought that Conor Gallagher in middle midfield for them was, I thought his positioning is superb. He's fantastic. He was definitely our best player, I thought. But there was only so much he could do. And about the 75th minute, I think I texted you guys. I said, I want him on my shopping list. I think he's fantastic. But on about the 75th minute, he just ran out of steam because he was marshalling that whole midfield on his own after Livermore got sent off. And, I was always confident we were going to get a goal, if not two. And look, we ran out 3-0 winners. Great for our goal difference coming towards a busy Christmas period.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the 10 men, I don't think it made much difference to the game because I think West Brom had set out their stall as is, and I actually think the game would have gone a similar way if they'd have had 11 men. I think we can all probably agree, Omar, that the sending off of Livermore was justified. I think it was a reckless challenge. Were we a little bit fortunate? Not because I think it was a red card, but because the referee had a really good chance to even things up quite quickly with Courtney Horse. On another day, another ref might have decided that was a red, or another VAR official.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to send him off. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought he was going to. As soon as I saw it back, I thought, oh God, here we go. Because everything in slow mo looks worse than it is.
Yeah.
And actually, I actually thought the opposite for Livermore. I thought it actually looked a little bit better than it initially did. Because I thought it was a
bad in real time.
Because you could see Livermore. He saw Grealish and he went for him. Like he went high. It was almost like a kung fu kick to the shin, and he was lucky he didn't catch him properly because that could have been a really nasty one. So he deserved red card. But House definitely, I thought, here we go. But I think the only thing that saved him was probably intent. So he didn't really have an intent to hurt the opposition player. He just sort of mistimed a tackle and almost sort of stood on his ankle / top of his foot. So I think he got a benefit of the doubt a little bit. But yeah, he was lucky. And, maybe at that point, maybe Dean Smith was thinking, actually, we've got to be a bit careful here because you don't want, it's very, very easy for a referee to try and even things out. It's almost like a subconscious trait that referees have. We see it game in, game out where if a player gets sent off and, as soon as you give them a chance to even things out, they sort of take that chance. So I was pretty surprised it didn't go against us. But even then, I think 10 versus 10, I wouldn't have been that concerned. I suppose the only negative thing really now is Tyrone Mings' yellow card, which was, I mean, I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to stop the quick free kick and he's trying to kick the ball and the player sort of puts his foot out and obviously goes down a bit theatrically. But you can see why the referee's giving him a yellow card. But now obviously he misses the next match, which is unfortunate. But I suppose it's better for him to miss Palace match rather than the Chelsea match, I suppose, from that perspective.
Yeah, it's quite instinctive, isn't it? Things like that. You sometimes are not in control of your own body, and it's just a natural reaction for Mings to do what he's done. But it'd be a big loss against Palace. Will Benteke be back for them? I can't. Is it a one match, maybe a 3 match? But
yeah, he got 2 yellows. Yeah.
But I'd argue actually Benteke is the kind of opponent that Hawes would deal with quite well, playing on the left hand side as centre back with Engels coming in. I suspect now if Conster's not back because Hawes is very good aerially. He wins nearly every header. So actually, Benteke might be more of an ideal opponent for Courtney Hawes. Do West Brom have any reason to feel aggrieved at all with the two decisions in your eyes now?
I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to say I don't know because initially, like as Omar said there, everything that's slowed down, it kind of begins to start making more sense. If you've got a fixed opinion beforehand, it begins to make more sense when you slow it down. I think Courtney Hawes one was high. It was high. I would have been annoyed if he was sent off. I could understand why he was sent off. Livermore, I texted to you guys. I said I don't think it's a red. And then when I saw that he had a kind of a stabbing motion with his foot, I said, well, maybe look, that's probably red. But once again, I would have never seen that in real time. Yeah, yes and no. I think I'm going to sit in the fence with it because we've been on the end of VAR decisions that I personally didn't agree with, and we've also, been on the end of the decision tonight with the offside goal for Watkins that I myself staggeringly can't believe they only spent 15 to 20 seconds looking at the offside decision and then decided they'd enough to see. Look, it's a flawed system, VAR. Whether they get the right decisions or not is still human. It's still a situation where it's still a human intervention. It's still almost human error. So it's not taking out the thing it should be taking out, which is human error. And I'm sure West Brom will be aggrieved about it. But I find it very difficult to feel sorry for anybody being aggrieved for VAR at the moment because every team is getting hit just as badly as every other team, I think.
It does feel like we get it worse, but I think you are right. I think every team is getting it equally at the moment. So I think we all probably went in at half time quite happy. It would have been nice to have got the second goal and put the game to bed at half time, but we didn't do that. And then, to be honest, picked up the second half where we left off, just in complete control. But we just couldn't get that second goal early, could we, Omar?
No, I thought we actually started the second half really well. And for the first maybe 15, 20 minutes, it looked like we were saying it looked like a matter of time before we scored. I thought it was a really good tactic to get Grealish back, sort of playing solely on the left because we were targeting El Ghazi. They were sort of doubling up and getting a lot of joy down the left. And we still tried on the right hand side a little bit, but mainly all of our threat was coming from the left, and it was working. And Watkins was sort of coming across, making those runs. And it was just sort of that final ball, that final touch, it just wasn't quite happening. But you thought, actually, this is happening. This is going to happen. The goal is going to happen. And then slowly as it went on, the second half went on, you thought, actually, you get a little bit worried. But like I said, I think the players were pretty confident. I think when that goal, like I said, didn't go in, then you start to get worried. But, this team is just such a different team to last year. And to be honest, any team that we've had before in terms of mentality. And I think we as Villa fans underestimate that massively. Because this team is just so full of confidence, so full of flair, so full of resilience, everything you need to be a really competent and good Premier League team, that they can only go from strength to strength. And the only thing that was going to obviously stop us or make it hard for us is lack of squad depth. But even then, the last two games, I know we didn't get the result against Burnley that we wanted, but we've seen the sort of performance levels that these players can put in if they've got a bit of confidence in them. And Traore today, I think, like Neil said, for me as well, definitely man of the match. And that finish, just summed it up. And I thought, he's the kind of player you think he's going to be. I think I was talking to someone else said he's a bit eccentric, and he is a bit like that, a bit like Paolo Wanchope or someone like that, where he's sort of got this unorthodox running style, unorthodox way of playing. But I thought today he was actually really efficient with the ball. Like he made the right decision time after time. He didn't try and do too much. He came inside when it was the right time to come inside. It was the right-hand version of Jack in terms of how Jack plays normally, in terms of and him and Cash as well. For the first time really all season, we've seen them interact and play together well as a unit, and it worked really well. And we look good both sides. And then towards the end of the second half, then obviously Jack came across to the right-hand side and with McGinn as well. And then again, they had some joy down the right hand side, and that's where we got but that's how we got a bit of joy, and he scored a couple of times as well.
Yeah, before we did get that goal, obviously we had the goal disallowed from Watkins. I mean, what he's done to VAR, the VAR officials seem to absolutely hate him nearly. He can't seem to get a goal at the moment, but he's had two. I don't want to say perfectly good goals because obviously at the end of the day he was offside for both, but he's had two wiped out in recent times, and it's just not quite going for him at the moment, is it?
No, and it's almost as if he's a throwback player in a lot of ways. The way he likes to lead, he's off the shoulder player, and realistically, this year probably more than anything else, that off the shoulder striker is almost eradicated from the game because he was in a lot of space. But it's if he's 2 foot or if he's a foot back further, does the ball come across at the same pace? Does the ball, so there's a lot of variables with regards to that. it's minuscule. Like, it really is minuscule how far he's offside there, and it's it's tough for him, because there will be questions, and you'll see it all over social media, and you'll start to see it if he doesn't score in the next game or two. Start to see people question him, saying, well, he scored 2 against this team, he scored a hat-trick against Liverpool, and really, if you take those 2 games out of it, has he been worth the money? And we all know he has. His hold-up play is very good. The runs he makes into the back post are special, and it's just about I suppose people will look at his the distribution of his goals and where they've come from, and maybe use it as a negative against him, when I think that's very unfair for somebody who's playing in the striking position for 12 to 14 months really in his career, and I'm still very happy with him. One thing I will say is, when you look at his overall contribution to play as well, another thing, and I would be pretty big in statistics, I like to look at them. And to be honest with you, sometimes I like to look at him from an area of where somebody is going to try and hammer this person on it. He only had 24 passes today and 40 touches of the ball. When you equate that with somebody like even Cash and Target, and I know they're big outlets for us, they had 86 touches for Cash and 89 touches for Target, and Jack Grealish had 96. People will start asking questions about, well, is he not getting involved in the game enough? I don't think that's not his game, because, as I said, he's an off-the-shoulder striker. He's there to be that fox in the box, and it'll come good for him, I think, at some stage. But at the moment, he's just on a dour run of luck with regards to maybe just being over-eager. If you could even call it over-eager, because at the end of the day, how's he to know he's offside? And I think things will come good for him. I really do, and I think we'll see maybe upwards of 15 goals for him this season, because he's got the striker's instinct, and that's half the battle when you see that.
My people will, rightly or wrongly, they'll say stuff about those stats about him only scoring from open play in 2 games. But this time last year, I can't remember how many goals exactly he was on, maybe 5, 4. But it was a case of another striker who wasn't really scoring in many games. So what is it about Villa strikers, and what is it about the way we play that we don't have a striker scoring consistently across games? At least now we have got other players chipping in with goals, whereas we probably didn't last season. But what is it about being a forward for Villa that we can't seem to get that prolific goal scorer?
Well, I think this was the criticism, like you said, levelled at Wesley last year. And I always defended Wesley for the very same reason I'm going to defend Watkins, isn't that there is a way that we play in terms of using our striker, in that we use the striker to stretch the defence. Now, Wesley probably wasn't the right type of striker to do that last year, and that was maybe a mistake. He's a different type of striker, more of a link striker. But I think Watkins, what you saw today, that first goal, he wins that header for that knockdown to Traore. There's no way he should be winning that header as well, and he wins it. And there's no way we score a goal without that, and people will forget that, because it's all about Traore's cross and El Ghazi's finish. But without that, they don't score. And I think what Watkins does, and this is the way that Smith wants to play. He's always said he wants to share goals across the team. Without Watkins, we don't stretch defenses. We don't create space for the midfield. There's a lot of times where Watkins will move defenders around, will make that run down the right, down the left, in behind, win a ball. How many times have we seen Watkins? He's 5'11", maybe 6 foot a max, and he's coming up against 6'4", 6'5" guys, and he's winning every ball. He's holding it up. He's such a good footballer. He's got such good control. And what we're doing really, if you watch the games back, we are hammering the ball at his head most of the time. We are hammering the ball at his head and chest, and he's winning it, and he's controlling it, and that's not an easy thing to do. We used to do that to Wesley last year, and it was tough for him, don't get me wrong, and some games he wasn't at it, but at the same time people were hammering him. But I think what you've seen with Watkins is almost why fans should have been less harsh on Wesley, in that it's a very difficult job for a striker to play up front for Villa, because how many times did Mings play a ball up front, long, and it's not aimless balls. They're aiming for him to knock it down and get it, because they think he can do it. And then he'd stretch the defense, and suddenly you've got Jack, you've got McGinn, you've got Traore, El Ghazi. They've got loads of space, because as soon as that ball gets knocked down, it's 4 versus 4 or 4 versus 5, and they've got lots of space to run into and make something happen. And it's such an important part of our team that and let's be honest, with the West Ham goal and today's goal, really, at least one of those should have counted, I think, especially the West Ham one. Then his distribution of goals is pretty standard for most Premier League players. There's not many players who score a goal every game. They'll normally score in bunches. It's the way strikers are. Benteke for us was exactly the same. He'd score all his goals in 4 or 5 games and then go on a barren spell and then score another 3 or 4 goals in 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. That's the way strikers work. So I'm not too downbeat on Watkins. In fact, I'm complete opposite. I think he's been a fantastic. And there's no way we do as well as we are doing this season without someone like Watkins. 100%.
Yeah, and he occupies defenders as well, which, as you say, is a massive part of being a striker in the modern game. I think in our WhatsApp group, after that goal got disallowed, there was a bit of trepidation in the WhatsApp group, just because of the way the game had gone. They'd done nothing. It was 1-0. People like Ivanovic were coming on. It was set out for them to just get a dodgy set piece, nick a goal, and we've chucked away the points. But it didn't happen because we had Dirty Bertie on the right-hand side there, Luke, who cut inside and rolled it in the corner to seal the game. And he deserved a goal. And actually, I've got to be honest, I've not seen what everyone's problem's been with him on social media before this game. I think he's been pretty good every time he's been on the pitch. He looks useful to me.
Absolutely, I agree with that too. First game he played, he was kind of lambs to the slaughter coming in after, what was it, 90 seconds, 120 seconds after Ross Barkley went off. And he was thrust into a game. He started off essentially, switched with Jack, ended up on the left, ended up on the right, and literally he just came forth across the field and not even come back in that game. And I think it was, I'm not going to say a culture shock to him, but I think you could kind of sense you could sense almost a kind of a disorganization from him in his own mind. I think people see the left foot. I think a lot of times people see.
Oh, have we lost now?
I think he's gone.
Yeah, we've lost him. You might have to take over, Omar.
He was telling me.
If you can pick up right where he's left off, that'd be helpful.
He was telling me the other day because he's got some new houses being built opposite him. Apparently his internet keeps going, so maybe it's because of that. The only thing I was going to say about Traore was that I agree with you completely in that I think he's been fine. Like, he's been good. He's not been great, don't get me wrong, but it's his first few games for Aston Villa in a completely new team, in a new position, new way of playing, new players. It can't, like, Barkley is different because Barkley knows Grealish and he's played in the Premier League for a long time, plays in that position. So he's used to playing in the Premier League as well. Whereas Traore, yes, he started off at Chelsea and he's got a good grasp of English and all that kind of stuff and the culture. But actually coming to a new team and new surroundings is difficult. So it's not surprising. I always said, and I think you also said the same thing, that it's going to take players like Traore and it's like you use the example of Trezeguet and Luiz last season. It's a perfect example of why you need to give these types of players time. And he might not have a good game next game. He might not. You just got to be patient with them. The fact that you've seen what they can do in the last couple of games in terms of their overall play. They've got the ability. Just be patient with them, give them time, and support them. End of the day, that's what we're there for. The only other thing I wanted to mention was Jack Grealish. Again, we keep saying this, but we take him for granted, don't we?
I don't.
Yeah.
No
what are your thoughts of him playing sort of the free role now and how he's played in the last couple of games? Do you prefer him on the left, or do you think he's actually, do you think there's a bit of merit playing him in that free role now going forward?
I mean, I suppose when he plays on the left, there is an element of him having a free role anyway. I prefer him on the left personally now, which I would never have said a few years ago, because there's a difference in playing on the left for Dean Smith than there is playing for Steve Bruce, for example. And I think you can get lost on the wing playing for Steve Bruce. I actually think he can get lost more playing as a number 10. I don't think he did tonight, but I think he can get pulled in too deep and he's not picking up the ball in areas where he's as dangerous as he could be, in my opinion. But maybe against teams like Burnley, against West Brom, when Ross is out, it's probably a no-brainer. I don't think I'd do it for every game. I mean, I don't think we'll see Ross now for the next game against Palace, just because he can't play against Chelsea anyway, because of his loan agreement. So do you risk putting him in for one game? I think you probably don't at this point now. You probably keep Jack there, let Ross recover properly and come in after the Chelsea game. I don't mind him there, but my personal opinion is that he's better on the left, which I don't know. Do you feel the same?
No, I completely agree, actually. I was going to say the same thing. I think against the lesser teams, it's a bit like the Connor situation, which, again, I was I wanted the same team, don't get me wrong, but I was surprised that he didn't play. But I think against the lesser teams, Connor's the guy that you go to, what we did to last season. But I think the reason for that was because we have a lot of more of the ball. So you need those creative players in that final third. And I think actually this season, if El Ghazi and Traore are going to carry on playing like the way they are, then against the lesser teams, definitely Grealish can play that free role, because then he can do what he wants. We'll have a lot of the ball, especially with McGinn and Luiz sitting. We will have a lot of the ball the way that we play. So you can afford to play in them. But against like the Chelsea and Spurs and Man United who've got coming up, then yeah, probably not. I don't think so. It'd be a bit harsh to drop Al-Ghazi or Traore looking at now, but then we've still got a couple of games before then, so who knows? But Grealish today, I read a stat. He created 8 chances, goal scoring opportunities today, which is the most of any Premier League player away from home for the last 5 years, which is pretty incredible, really, when you think about it.
Not to be sniffed at all. I mean, I suppose the good thing from that as well, and the way we're talking, is there's actually some competition out wide, because that's something we've talked about in loads of shows. You'll have talked about it on your own podcast. We've talked about it here on the Villa View loads of times. Lack of competition, team picks itself. Actually, now when Trezeguet comes back as well, there's a bit of competition out wide.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's not be naive to think that that it's going to be good every game going forward now, because I think Traore and wingers generally, I think this is what people didn't realize last year, is that wingers generally tend to be pretty, sort of stop-start in the way that they play. They have good games, bad games, they're out games. Actually, Young had it for us. I mean, yes, he was probably more consistent than any other winger than we've had, apart from maybe Tony Daly. But even then, he'd have bad games where he was in and out of the game. So it happens with wingers, because it's natural in terms of the way that where Villa are in the, in sort of the ranking of the Premier Leagues, in terms of probably being a mid-table side. There's going to be games where we're not going to get a lot of the ball, maybe, and a winger's not going to see a lot of the ball naturally. So you have to be patient with them. But you're right, there is competition there. I'd still be a little bit concerned about our forward options for the rest of the season, not just the wingers, but up front as well, because I don't know if you can rely on Davis being fit and whatnot, but I would still maybe look for maybe a winger or a striker maybe in January. I think we just need that, especially if we're doing well and pushing up the table. I think we need to invest heavily in those areas. Maybe, I don't know, a player that can play both. I don't know, not really sure, but definitely definitely in those forward positions I would look at.
Yeah, and it's like knock a new signing. Neil's just suddenly magically reappeared into the conversation. We've carried on talking about wingers, and there's now competition for places, Neil, in the wide areas, which is something that we haven't had. Just what's your take on now when Trezeguet's back? There's genuine competition out wide.
Yes, firstly, apologies about that. VAR must have ruled by Tex and Bertie Traore to be a small bit positive, and they cut me off. I don't know what happened.
You're back now.
I'm back now. I can't even remember what the question was. That
have you ever got a treble 20? That's what I want to know.
Sorry.
Have you placed the darts like that?
I know. I just took them out of the board just so that some people wouldn't ask me, am I professional? But with regards to transfers and the, I suppose the competition that's in the team at the moment, it's fantastic to see. Like our squad was tested against Burnley, and we still were the aggressor in that game. Our squad is still to a great degree tested now. It will be tested again against Crystal Palace with regards to Mings being out. Now, hopefully, Kante will be back. I know it was an illness; it wasn't COVID related. Thankfully, it was just a normal illness. So hopefully, he will be back for that game. It would be nice to see a left and a right partnership there, having that speed that Konsa brings in there, but what we would do from a I suppose a transfer market point of view, you would have to look at a striker. Even with Wesley coming back, you would definitely have to look at a striker. Do the club start looking for maybe looking at people whose contracts are running down? I know, like this, like there's players there that you can find, like maybe Demarai Gray from Leicester. I don't think he's done anything particularly wrong to get dropped from the Leicester team. You've got, and I'm sure that Johan Lange is scouring the market and the continent for people, and also. There's players. Who's to say we don't pull off another January signing for a small, diminutive 5'9" Colombian from River Plate by the name of Santos Pare? Who's to say we don't do something like that? He seems to be tearing it up in the South American League. It would be risky. It would be very, very risky. But the last guy that we signed took a bit of time to bed in. But hopefully we've learned some lessons from that. But who we actually sign, I don't know. I think the positions will definitely be. You would be looking at a striker, potentially a left back, and maybe they look to bring someone in midfield so that we don't feel the loss of a Ross Barkley too much should it happen again in the future. But it's exciting. Look, we're the first time we're looking to plow on from a position of strength now.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to looking to plug gaps, we're looking to plow on from a position of strength. And God, the last time I can remember Aston Villa doing this in the January was like January window was under Martin O'Neill, and before that was probably under John Gregory when we were close to the top of the table when we signed Dion Dublin, you know, and Paul Merson that off season. And it doesn't happen Villa that often whereby we have. We're looking upwards, I suppose, at Christmas, and we're in a good spot. And I will be. It could be one of the first time in ages. I might take transfer deadline day off in January to see if we bring in any signings and sit there and watch Jim White for the day. Who knows?
No, don't do that. You'll get the same. The lights are on. And Simon Dawkins number 2 will appear. You don't want that, mate.
Yeah.
I don't want that disappointment again. No,
talking about Martin O'Neill, January is what we wouldn't do for another Wayne Routledge coming through the door in a January transfer. He never used to like January, did he?
No.
O'Neill. It was always a strange time as a Villa fan. I suppose we got Heskey in the 1 January, but that'll probably be 50% of the people that thought that was okay and 50% that didn't. You talk about being in the position of strength, O'Neill, and Omar, I just wanted to say to you now, anyone we buy, they probably don't need to hit the ground running. If we buy a striker, it's not like the case of Samatta last year where he had to come in and we needed him to be brilliant straight away. Anyone that comes in, Omar, they've got time to bed in because we've got the goal scorer now.
Yeah, and also we're a more attractive proposition. You know, we probably couldn't sign the players that we wanted, like Giroud last year, because, you know, why would you come to Aston Villa? We look like on our way out, really. Let's be honest. And I think now we look, you know, we win. I know it's ifs and buts, but you know, we win our 2 games in hand. I know one of them against Man City, but you know, never know. But you know, we'd be second if we win both those games. No, that's a big if, obviously. I know, but it shows you the trajectory that we're going on. Even if we win our one of the games in hand, you know, we'll be 5th. So it shows you the position we're in. You know, Tottenham are 5th with I think 25 points or whatever. So you know, they're being talked about as title challengers still, even though they lost against Leicester City. So it shows you the position we're in, how well we're doing, and hopefully we're in an attractive proposition. I think January, though, as we all know, it's just a difficult month. You know, I've seen personally players been involved in moves through work and how they've gone to the wire and how they haven't worked out and the stress it puts on them. You know, literally, imagine on the 31st of January, someone telling you need to move to, you're living in London, you need to leave, you know, you need to live in Hull or something like that. For the next year or 2 years or 3 years, you know, and make a decision within the next hour. You know, no one in their right mind you normally would do that, and that's why January windows never work, because most players, when they get the opportunity, won't make that decision because they've still got time on their contract or whatever. You know, they've got time. They'll wait till the summer. So I think we'll probably want to make a move, but it'll probably be from abroad, I imagine. Because I think within the Premier League window it'll be difficult, and I'd be looking for our better signings and our top signings probably in the summer, but just maybe looking for some help up in the forward positions. I think you mentioned before maybe some Premier League experience would work, but I'd be looking at someone like Lookman. I think maybe in summer, something like that. I think he's a fantastic player. He can play both wings. He's only on loan at Fulham, I think. And I know he missed that penalty and everyone's slating him for him, but I think he's been their best player this season, and he looks a different level compared to anyone else on that pitch. But there's plenty of players out there. You know, maybe Rashika will be back on the radar. Who knows? Hopefully not. But I mean, it's good being a Villa fan. And I mean, just quickly on West Brom as well, I think if I was a West Brom fan, I'd be really worried, because I don't think they've got a plan at all. Because, you know, they had the previous CEO there, Mark Jenkins, who I've actually met a few times, really nice guy, really knowledgeable, knows his football, really highly respected. As soon as he retired and they appointed some random, you know, friend of the owner or whatever it was, you know, I knew they were in trouble. And I think, you know, they built a team to play a certain way, and they've brought in Allardyce, who completely does not fit the way that they play. I just can't see it working for them. I know Allardyce has this amazing record and what have you, but I just can't. I don't think their team is made for someone like Allardyce. I don't think they play like players like Pereira and Dean Garner and players like that. Even Carlin Grant, you know, he works hard and he's sort of like a poor man's Ollie Watkins in one way, but I can't see them doing well this season at all.
No, they'll be coming straight back where they came from, to be fair. I think this is going to be the first time Allardyce comes a cropper. To be honest, I think it's too big a task. They're too ordinary. There's nothing there really, and they'll be going straight back down. And whether you like the derbies or you don't, I think we can all agree he's great beating all the Midlands teams. Neil, I just want to get your take on that, because I've never really the West Brom and Wolves rivalry. They don't bother me. The Blues rivalry does because they are our rivals, but because of the way they are, these are the Midlands teams. When we do beat them now, I do get a level of satisfaction that I never used to get, just because of the times when we were in the Championship and like West Brom might have been in the Premier League for a spell, and they suddenly think that they're the bigger club and all that jazz. And let's face it, Villa could be playing in the conference, and they'll always be the biggest team in the West Midlands. Nothing will ever change that. But how does it feel to beat them? Do you get the kind of sly joy that I now get?
I do, yeah, and like myself and Paddy have spoken on our podcast as well before that it's a lot easier for us over here that we can talk about being a derby game, and 90% of the people here will actually have to ask if West Brom is a derby game for Villa, because UK geography may not be the strongest point over here or whatever, but for you guys it must be really difficult because you have to go into work and there'll be Baggies fans there, there'll be Wolves fans there, and so on.
There's no West Brom fans where I work. None.
There's quite a famous Baggies pub though in London. I've seen it in Angel, I think, or Islington. I'm sure I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh,
Weirdly,
I've never been.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but like derbies are derbies, and I think a lot of it is just like you could throw a blanket over the four clubs, I suppose, realistically speaking, from a geographical point of view, and it's always the case of the big brother that the younger brothers are always going to have a punch and a shot at him, and that's not me having a go at West Brom or Birmingham or Wolves.
Go on, have a go. Go on.
It kind of is. It's a thinly veiled go, but I don't want I want to keep up this thinly veiled kind of aspect of me being the nice guy on the podcast. That's what I want to keep. I joke.
I wasn't aware you were the nice guy on the podcast. Otherwise, thought I was.
But no, it's like the when you look at the relative areas of success and so on, it's not even a contest, and it's not being having a superiority complex or anything like that. It's just literally you look down through the years, the most historically the best team, and the team that gets the most fans through the turnstiles, and the team that's had spent the most years in the Premier League. They're the team that you're going to want to shoot. You want to try and shoot down, and when you have relative success over them, you're going to appreciate it more. The old joke of when Birmingham were in the Premier League of PD coming out for you beating Aston Villa, because that's going to be the biggest selling thing in your club shop at Christmas time. That does happen, and I suppose it's nice to keep the insurgency down, because Villa are there to be hit at. We're a big club, we've got huge potential, and no matter what fans of West Brom or Wolves or Birmingham say, it's not going to change the fact that that's just the way it is, and that's not being cocky, confident, or petulant, or whatever you want to call it. It's literally just facts with our eyes and ears. We can see it and you can hear it, and that's the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 big wins away from home in the last 8 days, and a lot of people are asking this in the comments and in the live chat. The away form is exceptional. It's outstanding. But why isn't it replicated at home? I honestly can't put my finger on it, so I'm not expecting you to. But have you got any thoughts?
Well, I think we're more suited to being a counter-attacking team. That's not to say today was a counter-attacking performance, because it wasn't. No. But I think generally that's why we've done so well. We got 11 points last season away from home, and we've got 15 already this season. So again, massive difference. But I just think the likes of Watkins coming into the team is a massive help. Plus, we just know how to defend now. We know how to be resolute at the back. We know how to have the right shape about us. I think playing 2-man midfielder in away games has helped massively as well. And we just look more in control, really, in most games. Leicester game being a case in point in terms of how that game went. I think at home, I don't really get it, to be honest, because we beat Sheffield United at home, we beat Liverpool. You're thinking, this is going to be a fortress. Villa fans are not there. Some games they're helpful, some games they're not. But then if you look at the games, game by game, Leeds game was the only game really where we got absolutely, we deserved to lose. Now, every other game we were in it, we should have won and maybe got a draw. Brighton game, we should have at least got a draw. Southampton game, we should have got a draw. It was just like, they had 3-4 attempts at goal and they scored every single one. And even then, second half, we had more than enough chances to make it 4-4, 5-4 maybe. And then again, Burnley game, we should have won. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. It's I think it's a bit of luck, really, to be honest. I think the bit of luck that we've had in the Liverpool game and maybe a couple of times away from home, I mean, Leicester game in particular, maybe just evening itself out a little bit. I think it'll be interesting to see when we play the bigger teams at home. I'll be interested to see how we do against them, because obviously last year we didn't do well against the bigger teams that we have done this season. Will we see an away type performance at home? because there's no fans there. There's no onus on us to take it to the team. So maybe our home form will pick up when we play the bigger teams. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where it's. I mean, I hate saying it's one of those things or it's one of those days because we've said it so many times this season, but it needs to pick up regardless. We need to start scoring. And the Burnley game is should have been 3 points, and we can't have other games like that. If we end up losing or drawing the Palace game and we're on top like Burnley, then it'll sort of put a dampener on what we've done in the last few games, I think. So I mean, as long as we keep winning away, then who cares? But I think we do need to start scoring goals at home, and I can't really say what it is, to be honest. I wish I knew, but I think Dean Smith is pretty comfortable with the way that we're playing, and that's the main thing. He looks for performances more than anything else, and if the performances are there, then he thinks the results will come naturally. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, there were many times this time last year where the performance wasn't there at all. Just want to finish and single out a couple of players. So I'm going to give you one player each. And Neil, your Matt Target, just the improvement in the guy has just been phenomenal, hasn't it? Since football came back, really, he's been brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah, he's been really good. You can see that. Yeah, you just see it's night and day from him. Like, we look back at the Adama Traore game that he had in and around this time last year against Wolves, and he went off injured. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the game afterwards he got a bang in the stomach and he started getting sick in the field as well, and he went off injured in that game. People were questioning maybe did he have the mental toughness and the actual the stomach for the fight. But Matt Target has been fantastic. Like, you look at any heat map, you look at any chalkboard kind of statistical analysis of him. We attack mostly down our left wing, and the reason being is because Jack is comfortable with Matt Target, and Matt Target is equally as comfortable in defence this year as well.
Yeah,
week on week, he's up there with the most amount of touches in the team, and he's been a fantastic success story with the team so far, and long may it continue, because that back four is very, very solid. And even though we're rotating players in and out at the moment because of injury and absence, the one constant in there is Matty Target, and he's bringing in a 7.5 every game, and look, that's what you need from your fullbacks.
And for you, Omar, my humble pie player this time last year, absolutely not having him, didn't get what he was, couldn't ever see him being a defensive midfielder in the Premier League. But now I can't imagine a Villa team without Douglas Luiz in it, because he's so important.
I was really hoping you were going to say him. Honestly, I was, because he's fast becoming my favourite player. He's so good. He is so good at what he does, and he's not naturally a defensive midfielder. I don't think. He's probably naturally number 8 more than anything else, and that's where he's tended to play for Brazil. But you can tell when you watch Premier League football who's going to be good, who's not. And I think with Douglas Luiz, I think I could see what you were saying last season. Not that I agreed with it, but I think plenty didn't. But he wasn't. There was times where he wasn't at the races. Don't get me wrong. But you can see in terms of the way that player plays, you can see whether they've got the ability or not. And it's things like a ball, an awkward ball landing to them, or them challenging for the ball, how they come out of that challenge, and what they do with it. And I think the fact that he can, there's so many times where there's a ball going in and around our area, and he won't just try and clear it. He'll chest it, play it off, find a pass. And that's the difference between a good Premier League player and a great Premier League player. And you see it with defenders, especially, where they don't just clear it; they find a man. And I think that's what Douglas Luiz does so well. And Nakamba, he played played okay against Burnley last time out. But I think you saw the difference today, where Douglas Luiz comes in the team. He starts all our plays. He's so important to our team. He sets the tempo. He wins balls. He's strong. He comes away from challenges with the ball and finds players. He plays good balls forward. He doesn't always look for the sideways pass. He looks for aggressive balls, and I think he's got a good relationship with the likes of Jack and other players, and you see this all the time. Players know, and I think this is where Jack comes into his own. They know they can drill a ball into someone like Jack or even Watkins, and they will keep the ball, and that means we can get further up the pitch. And I think that's what Douglas Luiz does so well. He's all-round games improved massively, and I think the defensive game as well, which wasn't there at times last season. He's got stronger and quicker, I think, which is so important. A bit like Jack's done over the last few years. I think that's been such a massive improvement. Same with Trezeguet and players like that as well. I think it's so important to have that part of your game in the Premier League, because you're going to come across so many physical players who all-round game is good, but also got the physical attributes. And I think at times last season that was missing. I think the fact he's got that now, there's not many Premier League defensive midfielders who are as good as him, really, in the Premier League. and also good have an all-round game as good as him as well in the Premier League. Hopefully, you know what I'm going to say next. That means that he's not. We'll see what happens in the summer. We'll see what happens in the summer, but enjoy him while you can. At least if he does go, we'll get some money for him, so it's not all bad. But I mean, let's hope and praise, because I think he's so important to our team that we are building the team around him, and like him, Jack, and players like that. That's what our team's built around. Without them, I think we struggle.
Yeah, to defend myself a little, his defensive game I could always say he was a good footballer, but he was playing him as the defensive midfielder. I felt we were too weak defensively. I felt opposition could plough through him too easily. I think it was the Norwich game on Boxing Day that Norwich, who were bottom of the league at the time, just ploughed through him like he wasn't even there, and I wasn't having that at all. But coming back after lockdown, the defensive side of his game now, like you say, he's got such a good all-round game, but defensively, he's so important now as well. And Nakamba was fine on Thursday. Nothing wrong with how Nakamba played, but he isn't Douglas Luiz. And I watch Man City and I watch Rodri, Fernandinho coming towards the end of his career, and it's a little bit worrying, because I think he's better than what they have in that number 6 role now, and that is a concern. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get him tied down to a new contract and completely knock that buyback thing on the head, because he could be a very important player for Villa for a number of years. And let's face it, Villa haven't had a Brazil central midfielder probably ever, so it'd be nice to hang on to him. I think that just about does. All that's left to say is that if you do go on the Purity website and you want to get yourself some of the lovely Villa kegs, Villa beer, or Villa glasses, or anything Purity based, to be fair, then make sure you are using the code #VillaView, and that will get you 10% off. I'm going to go with it. You probably won't get it before Christmas now at this stage, but yeah, do it and you'll get it for the new year. It'll be a nice present. So thanks to Omar and thanks to Neil for coming on. Make sure you're checking out their podcasts as well. You got any coming up, guys?
Well, Neil, you can go first, because we've all been involved in your next one, haven't we? So I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a Christmas special coming out on the 23rd, where try and talk. I've lost count of the amount of people I've talked at the moment, and I'm trying to splice it together at the moment. But it's real fun. It's just a real kind of nostalgic episode, and I'm actually really looking forward to, because I've really looked forward to. I've really enjoyed talking to everybody about their Christmas memories as part of Aston Villa. So check that out when it comes out on the 23rd.
Excellent stuff. Omar, you haven't got anything, have you?
No, nothing, mate. No, nothing. No, we have managed to get a bit of a coup. We have an interview with Dwight York coming up, which should be out. Well, basically, I've never done any video editing. I've said it before, we don't do videos. So I've been trying to learn Final Cut Pro this last few days. So I've managed to get my head around it. So hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday, it'll be out. A bit of an early Christmas present for all the Villa fans. Someone who hasn't really been on any sort of interviews or anything like that for a long time. So it should be a really interesting conversation. But we talked to him last week, and it was a really good conversation. And we talked about everything as much as we could. Very positive interview. And I think people will love it. So watch out for that. It'll be on YouTube. It'll also be on our all the audio platforms as well. But yeah, watch out for that. That should be a really good one.
Good stuff. I'll make sure that I definitely watch that one. I used to love Dwight York as a kid. First time I was ever upset about a player leaving, I think, was when Dwight York left. That was kind of that was what got you used to players leaving after Dwight. He was the first one, wasn't he? But then there was kind of one every summer for the rest of your life that decided to leave after Dwight York. So yeah, so go check out the guys' podcast as well, and go back and look at some of our stuff as well. We did a mental health special a month or so ago, so there's still obviously some relevant information in there, especially with what's going on in the world at the moment and not being able to see your friends and family, tier 4 and all that shite. Then go and check out that mental health podcast, because I think, obviously could be really helpful. And we did one with Gabby a few weeks ago as well. He's always good value, so go back and check that out as well, because he's, as I say, always good value, although he is on everything nowadays. But yeah, watch him with Darling and myself, because it is an enjoyable listen and watch. So have a good Christmas. There will be a Luke Live Lounge show at some point. I'm not sure when, but we'll get that all up on our social media and let you know when that's coming up. So look out for that. Have a great Christmas, as good as you can. Hopefully some of you will be able to see your friends and family as best you can. And yeah, enjoy it. And we'll be back after Boxing Day. Probably not on Boxing Day. We'll probably do on the day after, but there will be a post-match point in the days after Palace as well. So stay safe, stay healthy, and up the Villa.
Up the Villa.